The Sacrifice of Alcestis, Chapter 7. Chapter 7. For 10 long years Admetus and Alcestis ruled in Pheræ, and the gods gave them joy and happiness and 2 children to bless their wedded love. And when Admetus looked back to the days of the past, he was well pleased with the story of his life. Had he not held an oar in the good ship Argo, whose fame had reached to the uttermost parts of the earth? By the strength of his arm he had won to wife the fairest maid in Thessaly, and brought her home behind a pair such as no man before or since had dared to yoke together. Moreover, through the length and breadth of Hellas his house was famous as the home of hospitality and good cheer. Not men alone, but great Apollo, the bright-haired god of light, had been his guest, nay, his very servant. Was he not king, too, of a rich and fruitful land, in which year by year the earth brought forth plenteous harvests, because the greatness of his name held back the tide of war, and peace with unfettered feet walked joyously through field and city? When he remembered all these things, his heart waxed big with vanity and pride, and he began to forget the gods and to look down upon his fellow men, and think that he alone of all mankind had done great deeds, and that without him the world would be but a sorry place. This pride it was that made him do a mean thing that marred all the glory of his life. One day death came and stood beside him, and put his seal upon his brow, and Admetus knew that he must die. When he felt that now he stood upon the threshold of Hades, the dim dark world of the dead, where high and low, rich and poor, strong and weak, wander forever as voiceless shades through the sunless groves, where kingship and slavery are one, his heart was turned to water, and his spirit called aloud in his anguish. Apollo, O Apollo! Hear me in my sore distress, and deliver me from death. Far away on the sunlit peak of Olympus Apollo heard his cry, and swift as the lightning crosses the sky he came and stood beside him. What wouldst thou with me, Admetus? He asked. I have come in answer to thy prayer. Then Admetus raised his head, and pointed to his brow, and Apollo gazed sadly at him. I see the seal upon thy brow, my friend, the seal that none may break. Ah, say not that, my lord. Am I not even now in the prime of my manhood, when others look forward to many a long year of joyous life? Why should I die before my time? My mother and my aged father still live, and rejoice in the sunlight, yet no kingdom standeth by the might of their right arm. The meanest slave within my palace is more fortunate than I. Why, out of them all, hath death laid his hand on me? He is but the servant of the fates, Admetus, whose ways neither gods nor men can understand. The fates? Are they lower than the beasts, then, and will not listen to the voice of reason? The voice of man's reason is to them as the baying of jackals in the wilderness, Admetus. O God of light, is there nothing that will touch their hearts? Canst thou by thy music turn the souls of man and beast, and soothe the fury of the whirlwind and the crying of the rain, and yet over them alone hast thou no power? Ah! By the love thou once didst bear me, go, strike thy lyre before them, and sing thy song of magic. Surely they will not withstand thee, but will put my life into thy hands in return for the beauty of thy song. Because I love thee I will go, Admetus. Yet, if I go, it is because they call me, and if I prevail, or if I fail, it is because they have willed it long ago. Farewell. Sir Apollo sped away on the wings of the wind, far, far away beyond earth's widest bounds, beyond the region of unmelting snow and the land of the midnight sun, beyond the ever-rolling stream of ocean and the deserts of the air, till he came to the unchanging land where the 3 great sisters dwell together, without beginning and without end. In that land there is neither north nor south, east nor west. There is neither sun nor moon, night nor day, time nor change. On 3 great thrones of mist the mighty sisters sit, and their forms are neither foul nor fair. On their brows are crowns of sovereignty, and in their hands the destinies of man, which they sit spinning, forever spinning, into the mighty web of life. The first is Alcestis the chooser. From the tangled mass beside her she picks out threads of varied hue and hands them to Clotho the spinner, who weaves them into the web upon her knees. On the other side sits Atropos the unswerving one. In her hands she holds a pair of shears, and as the ends of the threads hang loose on the wrong side of the web, she cuts them off and casts them at her feet. Sir Apollo came and stood before them with his lyre in his hand. Softly he touched the golden strings, then raised his voice and sang. At the sound of that magic song Alcestis forgot to hand the threads to her sister, the web dropped low on Clotho's knee, and the hand of Atropos fell lifeless by her side, until the ending of the song time itself stood still. While the magic of his singing held him spellbound, Apollo urged his plea. "Almighty sisters, from the ends of the world have I come, from the haunts of mortal man, to ask a boon for one I love. Say on, Apollo. Thou hast turned our hearts to water by the magic of thy song. What wilt thou? In the fertile land of Pherae, Admetus lies a-dying. He is young, and the love of life runs hot within his veins. He is a great king, too, and rules his subjects well and wisely, and loud will be the wail of the people if he must die before his time. If my song has pleased you, mighty ones, O grant that he may live to a green old age. All mortals would live to a green old age, Apollo, and thou lovest many among the sons of men. There would be no end to our bounty if for every song we must grant thee a life. Nay, ask some other boon, for thy song has reached our hearts." But Apollo turned sadly away. "There is nothing else I would ask of you, great sisters. For this, and for this alone, have I come. On one condition only can we grant thee thy boon, Apollo. Thou sayest that Admetus is a great king, and well loved by all his folk. If among them all he can find one soul that will go to Hades in his place, we will let him live on to a green old age. Surely we ask not much. Some slave who loveth not his life, or some old man whose grey hairs are a burden, will gladly die that one so wise and great may live on for his people's joy. So be it, mighty ones. Yet methinks 'tis an empty boon thou hast given me, for men cling to life and the sunny days on earth, and Admetus may seek far ere he find one who will cast it aside for the darkness and gloom of the sad underworld. And, in any case, he is not one to live on at the price of another's life. We can grant no more," they said. So Apollo went back by the way he had gone, and he came and stood beside Admetus, and told him the word of the fates. When Admetus heard it he was glad. "O God of light, thou wast ever my friend, and now I shall owe my very life to thee. How can I thank thee?" But Apollo looked through to his inmost soul. "Dost thou accept the condition, then?" he asked. "What else can I do, master?" He replied. "Thou canst die." "I know it," cried Admetus, "but why must I die before my time? With the Argonauts I sailed the unknown seas, in the lists I have fought and prevailed against the flower of Hellas. And for 12 months a god deigned to dwell beneath my palace roof. Surely my life is worth more than most men's, and I do well to keep it while I may." "So be it," said Apollo, but his face was stern and terrible, and Admetus trembled at his frown. "Go now, and find one who will die for thee." And he turned and left him.